everyone, this is Mrs. Baker, and I am going over Act 3 in Romeo and Juliet, scenes 1 through 6. Even if your text looks different than mine, what I have for you here is the text on one side, annotated, with questions and answers over here on this side. So listen, follow along, and you'll be able to get all your answers. And be sure to let me know if you have any questions about anything. Okay, Act 3, Scene 1 begins, it's the morning of day 2. It is the morning after the party, and we have Benvolio and Mercutio are hanging out on the street. It's kind of odd that these young men do not have jobs or do not have apprenticeship, and so this provides opportunity for them to get in trouble. And we have quite a bit of foreshadowing here with Benvolio. He says, I pray thee, good Mercutio, let's retire. The day is hot, the Capulets abroad, and if we meet, we shall not escape a brawl. And we have that rhyming in there with the abroad and brawl, that assonance, that kind of slight rhyme there with the vowels, and that should catch the audience's ear to let, ooh, something's going to happen. And then, of course, his last line, for now these hot days is the mad blood stirring. We know now that something's going to happen. So this would be an example of foreshadowing Benvolio's words. Now, Mercutio is trying to be funny and witty, and in some movie versions we see him be very joking and lighthearted with his next lines here. And then in the 1968 Zeffirelli version, he's more serious and just kind of odd. He just seems very fired up and irritated and frustrated. Wonder why Mercutio's a little bit frustrated. Some have said that he gets irritated every time that Romeo ditches him. And here's another example of him looking for Romeo, hanging out with Benvolio, and Romeo's nowhere to be found. So here we have him joking around saying, how Benvolio's so quick to fight, and gives us a huge long laundry list here of 6 different items for reasons why Benvolio would like to fight. And they're all silly, stupid reasons. They're petty things. And that's the point here, is he's being ironic, because Benvolio is a peacemaker. He's not a fighter. So this is a complete opposite of Benvolio's character. And plus, really, fight over this stuff? But here again, we have Shakespeare setting us up for what's going to happen later on in this play. All this talk of fighting, we can tell already that Mercutio's itching for a fight. And then we have Tybalt entering the scene. And Tybalt and Mercutio banter back and forth, and then they start to have a bit of a scuffle, a bit of a fight. Now some say it's play fighting, like it was initially, as you saw in the Zeffirelli version. But others say maybe, it's for real. So here we have... And we have Benvolio reminding us of the prince's words from Act 1, Scene 1, with that initial brawl scene. Here we are, out in public, everyone can see us, and Benvolio is acting as the peacemaker again, trying to break up the fighting. But Mercutio doesn't care. Men's eyes are made to look, so let them gaze. I will not budge. For no man's pleasure I. And we have that inverted sentence structure from Shakespeare again. But it's all supposed to, plus, maybe Mercutio doesn't care because he's related to the prince, so he can get away with anything. And we see that the prince obviously is not one for following through on his punishments, because he's changed his mind every time that there's been something. Alright, so we have constant dueling going on. The talk of fighting prepares us for this, and we learn that again, Mercutio is kind of a jokester, sarcastic, defends his friends. Tybalt's a good swordsman, always wants to fight, and has a bad temper. Alright, to continue with this scene, Romeo then enters, and there's a few things here of misinformation. This entire play and all the complications occur due to lack of information. Romeo, Tybalt says, here's my man, I'm going to fight him, and Romeo's like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about, and he talks in a riddling fashion. The reason that I have to love thee doth much excuse the appertaining rage. Villain am I none. And Tybalt doesn't quite know how to take these words, especially when he says, I never injured thee, but love thee better than thou canst devise. Well, yeah, of course Romeo loves Tybalt, or so it seems, because they're now related by marriage through his secret marriage to Juliet. But Tybalt doesn't know this. And likewise, Romeo has no idea that he's injured Tybalt at the party. So this information here, this whole exchange and conflict between Tybalt and Romeo, neither one knows what the other one did. And it's all miscommunication. Because if Tybalt's just itching for a fight, but Romeo has no idea that Tybalt got yelled at the party. He has no idea. So he's like, dude, what's up with this? And think about that with your own lives. How often do our conflicts start because of misinformation, because somebody didn't have all the information and misunderstood? Okay, so Mercutio jumps in because Romeo will not defend himself, and then he begins to fight Mercutio and Tybalt begin to fight, and Romeo tries to, with the help of Benvolio, stop the fighting between the two. And again, we get the reminder, the prince has forbidden them to fight in the street. And just like West Side Story, we have Romeo holding back Mercutio, and Tybalt is able to stab Mercutio. Whether it's intentionally or not, that's left up for interpretation. Mercutio then curses very famously the two families, a plague upon your houses. And Mercutio's like, yeah, it's a scratch. Here again, he's being funny and witty and playing around with this. And the rest of the group, as you see in the video, doesn't know quite how to take it. They think he's joking around when really, no, it's very serious. If you ask for me tomorrow, you shall find me a grave man. As in, I'm in serious condition, and you'll find me in a place where you bury dead people, because I will be dead. All right? He yells at Romeo, why the devil came you between us? I was hurt under your arm. And again, Romeo, his intentions, I thought all for the best. And then Mercutio dies. Some critics say that Mercutio had to die because he steals the show. He's such a enjoyable character to watch on the stage, but he just steals the show from Romeo and Juliet. So some say he's got to die. All right, Benvolio re-enters, tells Romeo that Mercutio's dead, and Romeo says, oh, I'm fortune's fool, blaming everything again on fate. When really, is it fate that controls them? I don't think so. I don't buy it. Okay, so now then Romeo chases after Tybalt, and the two of them fight, and Romeo kills Tybalt. And then we get Romeo running away. And then Benvolio gives a recap to the prince when all parties come together. And Benvolio speaks truthfully. And we also get the couplet at the end of his long speech here to them that would again catch the ear of the audience, and they would know that this information is important because of the rhyming words. Likewise with Lady Capulet's words. You can see all the rhyming here, that it is catching the audience's ear because they would not have the text in front of them, so a verbal cue would be the rhyme scheme. Why does Lady Capulet say that the prince can't trust Benvolio's words? Well, because we go back to that bit with the Capulets and Montagues. But notice it's Lady Capulet who's doing all the talking here. It's not Lord Capulet. And it's Lord Montague, not the lady, who is doing all the talking here as well. Okay. Kind of interesting that Lady Capulet is speaking up here. Maybe we can guess this is where Juliet gets her kind of forceful and independent personality from her mother. Okay, so now the prince hears both parties and then decrees that instead of being sentenced to death, Romeo will now be exiled. Exile will only last 6 months to a year. That's it. So even though Romeo is going to freak out when we see him later, when he hears this news, it's really not all that bad. Because in that 6 months to a year, during the time that Romeo's gone, the friar could go plead his case to the prince and bring him back again. And they could get it all sorted out once everybody has calmed down. And then he could also reveal the secret marriage of Romeo and Juliet to help solve the problem of this fighting. But again, here we have conflicts, problems that all occur because not everyone knows the information. And here we have again, you can question the prince's ability to lead and control his people because once again, He does not. Oh, and there's the bell. He does not follow through on his initial statement that if they are caught fighting again, they will be sentenced to death. So, one can argue, how good is that prince at ruling Verona? All right, the bell has rung, and I will be back with Scene 2, Act 3, in just a bit.